We are discussing the sample question paper of Term 1 Chemistry as released by CBSE for this year. The first part of the video has already been posted on our YouTube channel. You can check there, and we have discussed the first 15 questions in that part of the video. Now, in this part of the video, we are going to discuss the next 15 questions, that is question number 16 to 30. So let's go to question number 16. Question number 16 says major product obtained on the reaction of 3-phenylpropene with HBr in the presence of organic peroxide is. So this is 3-phenylpropene. It's reacting with HBr, that is hydrogen bromide, in the presence of organic peroxide. If organic peroxide would not have been there, it would have simply been a Markovnikov addition. But since it's taking place in the presence of an organic peroxide, now anti-Markovnikov addition will take place, and so the product obtained will be this. Why? Because according to anti-Markov addition, when addition reaction takes place on this double bond, the hydrogen will go on the carbon which has less number of hydrogen. So hydrogen will go here and the bromine will go here. This is CH2. So now when addition reaction takes place, bromine will go here, hydrogen will go on this carbon, and so this is the reaction product. Now its name is not 3-phenyl-1-bromopropane. Why? Because if we are naming this, then in halide and alkyl group, the phenyl group will be given more preference. So this will be at one position. So 1 phenyl and 3 bromo. So this is the correct option and these three are incorrect. Now let's go to question number 17. Which of the following is a correct statement for C2H5Br? For ethyl bromide, it reacts with Na to give ethane. It's an incorrect statement. Why? Because C2H5Br on reaction with Na in the presence of dry ether, it's a Wurtz reaction and will give butane. And NaBr, but it's not giving ethane, so it's incorrect. It gives nitroethane on heating with aqueous AgNO3. Let's see on reaction of C2H5Br with aqueous AgNO2. So what will happen? A substitution reaction will take place and C2H5NO2, that is nitroethane, and AgBr will form. So this is correct because nitroethane is getting formed on reaction with aqueous solution of AgNO2. The third option was it gives C2H5OH on boiling with alcoholic potash. No, it's a false statement. Why? Because on heating with alcoholic potash, it would have been an elimination reaction. It will have been given ethene. So this is an incorrect option, and this is also an incorrect option because it will not give diethyl thioether, it will just give ethene thiol on reaction with alcoholic KSH. The next question is covalency of nitrogen is restricted to what? So covalency of nitrogen is actually restricted to 4 because of non-availability of d orbital. So it has 2p orbital as its outermost orbital. It has 2s and 2p. Since second shell does not have d orbital, so its covalency cannot be expanded beyond this. This is the configuration of nitrogen. It can form 3 bonds with sharing of electron and 1 bond with donating both these electrons, that is a coordinate bond, and 3 covalent bonds. So coordinate covalent bond and 3 normal covalent bonds will give covalency of 4. Now the next question is solubility of gases in liquid decrease with rise in temperature because dissolution is an. So it's an exothermic reaction. Why? When gases dissolve and the forward reaction of dissolution is exothermic, then according to Le Chatelier's principle, if we are going to raise the temperature, the system will favor the backward process, which will be endothermic. Why? Because Le Chatelier's principle is for these chemical equilibriums in which if we are altering the any conditions of the reaction, then the system will modify itself in such a way that the effect of the change is minimized. So if temperature is raised, it will favor the endothermic reaction, that is the backward reaction, and so the dissolution will decrease with rise in temperature. So it's an exothermic and reversible process. Why reversible? Because Le Chatelier's principle does not work for irreversible process. It is therefore reversible processes where equilibrium is established. So now let's go to question number 20. It says all elements of group 15 show allotropy except nitrogen. As we go down the group, what happens is these size increase, and so the interelectronic repulsions of the single bonded decrease, and so they can show allotropy. But for nitrogen is very small in size and high electronegativity. There are very high interelectronic repulsions, and so NN single bond is the weakest and very easy to break. So this does not show allotropy. Next question says, which of the following is a polysaccharide? Glucose, no, it's a monosaccharide as it cannot be further hydrolyzed. Maltose is a disaccharide that is formed by 2 glucose units, so it's also not the correct option. Glycogen is a polysaccharide. And its monomer unit is glucose. So this is a correct option, and lactose is again a disaccharide formed by glucose and galactose. So option C is correct. Now let's go to next question, which says substance having low boiling point. Which has the lowest boiling point among these? So as we know, the boiling point of any compound depends on the interionic, intermolecular, interatomic interactions for different type of compounds. Now helium, it's a noble gas, so it exists in nature as monoatomic form. So this will have the lowest boiling point. And also helium has very low molecular mass, and we know that molecular weight, as molecular weight increases, the boiling point also increases because the interactions increases with size. So for helium, there are only weak van der Waals forces, and that too with very low molecular mass, so very low interatomic interactions. So D is the correct option. Next question is, low molecular mass alcohols are, they are miscible in water, miscible in excess amount of water, miscible in water in all proportions, and immiscible in water. So the correct option is miscible in water in all proportions, because they form hydrogen bonding with the water molecules. Like let's say we are talking about methanol. So this can form hydrogen bond with water molecules, and this intermolecular hydrogen bonding will increase its solubility in water, and so they are miscible in water in all proportions. Now the next question is, maximum oxidation state exhibited by chlorine is. So chlorine, its electronic configuration is electronic configuration of neon, then 3s2 3p5. So let's see like this. This is the ground state configuration with empty d orbital. It has a vacant d orbital available. So in the ground state, it has this configuration. When we are talking about the excited state, for the maximum oxidation exhibited by chlorine, we can see how much maximum number of unpaired electron can it form? This. If all the electrons are excited, this will be the maximum oxidation state exhibited by chlorine, and this is +7. Since it has maximum 7 unpaired electron present on it. Next question is, in which of the following cases blood cells will shrink? So when placed in a water, so the blood cells, that is the blood in RBC, it is isotonic with 0.9% mass by volume NaCl solution. So when two solutions are isotonic, they have the same pressure, osmotic pressure. Now, when it is placed in water containing more than 0.9% mass by volume NaCl solution, then what will happen? The fluid in the RBC, that is blood, that will go out of the cell and the cell will shrink. So this is the correct option. In this case, from osmosis. This will happen because of osmosis, and osmosis is the traveling of solvent from lower concentration, that is from dilute solution to concentrated solution. So if the concentration of NaCl is more outside the cell, so the blood inside the RBC will go out and the cell will shrink. Now the next question is, we have moved to section B. The next question is, how much ethyl alcohol must be added to 1 liter of water so that the solution will freeze at -14 degrees Celsius? So the change in freezing point, this T0F minus TF. T0F for water, that is normal freezing point for water is 0 degrees Celsius minus -14 degrees Celsius. So it is 14. Now everything else is given. The formula for this is this is 14 degrees Celsius. Now the formula for delta TF, that is the depression in freezing point, is I KF M. This is molality. Now this I is 1 because it's an organic compound, and for organic compounds it is 1. Now Kf for water is given 1.86 per degree Celsius per mole into molality. What is molality? It is number of moles of solute, that is number of moles of ethyl alcohol that we have to find out. Let's say it's N. And then the mass of solvent. So it's given 1 liter of the solution, but we are assuming that the density of water is 1 gram per ml. So then it will, if 1000 ml of water is there, then 1000 gram of solvent will be there. So 1000 into 1000, because we are taking it in converting it to kilogram, because molality is has mass of solvent in kilogram. So now we can calculate it. We put this 14 there and 1.86 into N. So N will come out to be 7.5 mole. So option A is correct. Now let's move to question number 27. It says, which reagents are required for one-step conversion of chlorobenzene to toluene? When we have to convert chlorobenzene to toluene, what we have to do? So we have to make this. Toluene is this. This is toluene. So this is an aryl-alkyl compound. Alkyl-aryl compound, methyl and aryl group. So for preparation of alkyl-aryl compound, what we do? We prefer Wuchs-Fittig reaction. So what do we want? We want a chlorobenzene, and we react it with sodium and methyl chlorine. This will give So chloromethane and chlorobenzene will give us in the presence of dry ether. This will be Fuchs-Wittig reaction and it will give us toluene. That is what we want. So what are the options? This B option is correct. So these are the reagents required for the one-step conversion of chlorobenzene to toluene. The next question says, on partial hydrolysis, XeF6 gives. What does it give? So on partial hydrolysis of XeF6, it can take place in two ways. Partial hydrolysis, H2 in the presence of H2O, partial hydrolysis. What can happen? In one case, XeOF4 plus 2HF and XeO2F2 plus 4HF. So these two things can happen. Now, which option has any of these? Correctly, this one. Because when XeOF4, it has given H2 and not HF. So this is the correct option. This is for complete hydrolysis and these options are incorrect. Question number 29. It says which one of the following statement is correct about sucrose. So sucrose is a disaccharide of alpha glucose and beta fructose. So let's see the structure first. So it's made out of alpha D-glucose, HOH, this is alpha glucose, and then it's glycosidic bond with beta fructose. So this is sucrose. Now, sucrose, can it reduce tolerance reagent? No, because it does not have free aldehyde group present. So this is incorrect. It does not undergo mutual rotation actually, because mutual rotation is the change in optical rotation because of change in equilibrium between the two anomers. But in sucrose, there is no free hydroxyl group there, and in the ring, because it's linked in glycosidic bond. So we do not have that change in open chain structure and closed structure. So since the ring can't open and close, so it will not undergo muta-rotation. The third thing is it undergoes inversion configuration hydrolysis. See, glucose is dextrorotatory, that is, it rotates the PPL, plane polarized light, in clockwise direction. But on hydrolysis, it gives glucose and fructose. That is the hydrolysis product. And now the glucose is dextrorotatory with the angle of rotation as 52.5 degrees Celsius clockwise. This is for glucose. And for fructose, the angle of rotation is minus 92.4 degree for fructose, and it is levorotatory because it is anti-clockwise. Now, since the anti-clockwise direction has more angle, so the resulting mixture that is formed on hydrolysis will be levorotatory. So at first it was dextrorotatory. When it undergoes hydrolysis, it gives glucose and fructose, and the mixture is levorotatory because the levorotation of fructose is more than that of dextrorotation of glucose. So C is the correct option. And D is incorrect because it says levorotatory in nature, but sucrose is dextrorotatory. Now 30th question. It says phenol does not undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction easily due to. So in case of phenol, this is phenol. this CO bond has a partial double bond character due to resonance, and so this bond is hard to break, and any nucleophile cannot come and break this bond and replace OH. So because it is very hard then to break. Also this is sp2 hybridized, so it will not break easily. So the correct option is partial double bond character of COH bond. We do not have to do anything with CC bond. When we are considering nucleophilic substitution reaction, we have to consider the COH bond. Also, acidic nature of phenol has nothing to do with its nucleophilic substitution reaction, and this is also incorrect because phenoxide ion is stable because of resonance, and this does not affect this. So the correct answer is partial double bond character of COH bond. That's it for today. Thank you.